My name is Sandra I. Baldwin, and I am 29 years old. My boyfriend laughed after I proposed to him in front of his friends. He looked at the ring, looked at them, and said, "So delusional. Imagine thinking I'd actually marry her." So I said, "You're right," walked out of the restaurant, and by the time he came home, my side of our life was already gone. But the ring box felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds before any of that happened. It sat in my pocket all night like a secret heart, heavy with months of planning, hope, and the kind of foolish courage people only have when they still believe love will protect them from humiliation. I had saved for that ring because Cole once stopped in front of a boutique window and pointed at a clean platinum band with a single dark sapphire. "That's the only kind of ring I'd ever wear," he said casually. I remembered. Of course I remembered. The restaurant was Celadone, the same place where we had our first real date. I chose it because I thought memory mattered. I even coordinated with the waiter to bring Cole's favorite champagne at the right moment. I had rehearsed the words in my car, in the shower, in my office parking lot. I thought nervousness was the worst thing I would feel that night. Across the table, Cole Evans was holding court. That was what he did best. He told a story about humiliating a junior associate at his marketing firm, and his two closest friends, Jensen and Amir, laughed on cue. Jensen laughed too loudly, always eager to prove loyalty. Amir smiled but looked down more often, like he still had a conscience somewhere under the expensive blazer. I took a slow breath. "Cole," I said. He paused mid-sip of his cocktail and arched one eyebrow. "What's up, babe? You look like you're about to announce a tax audit," Jensen snickered. I stood. My chair scraped softly against the tile. The restaurant noise faded into a low hum as I walked around to Cole's side of the table. My hands were shaking, but my voice stayed steady because I loved him, and love makes brave fools of us all. I lowered myself to one knee. The floor was cold through my dress pants. I pulled the ring box from my pocket, fumbled once, then opened it. The sapphire caught the soft overhead light, deep blue and beautiful, like something with a future trapped inside it. "Cole Marcus Evans," I began. "For 3 years, you've been the most exciting, unpredictable part of my life. You've challenged me, surprised me, pulled me out of every safe corner I used to hide in. I love you, and I want—" Oh my God! It was not a gasp of joy. It was pure disbelief. Cole's smirk froze, then twitched. His hand flew to his mouth, not to hold back tears, but to hide laughter already rising in his throat. His eyes darted from the ring to Jensen, then to Amir. One hollow laugh escaped him. "You're serious?" he asked, loud enough for the couple at the next table to look over. My heartbeat stumbled. "Of course I'm serious. I love you." Cole lowered his hand. The cruel smile was fully visible now. He leaned back, as if the ring itself offended him. Then he looked at Jensen, eyes wide with theatrical shock. "Can you believe this?" Not to me. About me. "Sandra," he said, laughing again, "you're so delusional." The word hit harder than any slap. Amir shifted in his seat, uncomfortable. Jensen leaned forward like a man watching a car crash he secretly enjoyed. "Imagine thinking," Cole continued, slow and sharp, "that I'd actually marry her. Her. Like I was not sitting there. Like I was a joke with a pulse." "Cole," I whispered. "No, listen," he said, waving one hand. "It's sweet. The stable project manager thing, the Sunday meal prep, the bills paid on time, the safe girlfriend routine. It's cute, Sandra. Really. But marriage to you? My life would be settled before it even started. I'd be bored by 30. I'm meant for sparkle, for experiences, for something bigger than this." He gestured at me while I was still kneeling. Humiliation crawled up my neck, hot and alive. I saw the pity in Amir's eyes, the delight in Jensen's, the other diners pretending not to stare. but mostly, I saw Cole clearly for the first time. Not the man I loved, but a performer using my devotion as material. Something inside me did not break loudly. It froze. I closed the ring box. The click sounded final. I stood, pulled cash from my wallet, covered my share of the appetizers and drinks, and added a generous tip because the waiter did not deserve the wreckage. "You're right," I said calmly. "My mistake." Cole's smirk faltered. I turned and walked out. Behind me, he called my name once, not with love, but with the panic of a performer whose favorite prop had left the stage. Outside, the night air was cold and clean. One thought moved through me with perfect clarity. Go home. Erase yourself. The drive home happened in absolute silence. I did not turn on the radio. I did not call anyone. I did not cry at a red light or scream into the steering wheel like people do in movies when their heart has just been publicly gutted. I simply drove through the familiar streets with a clarity so cold it almost scared me. The pain was there, somewhere beneath the surface, a black ocean waiting to rise. But for now, I was standing on one clear command: move. Our apartment was in a modern complex Cole had chosen because it looked good in photos. He liked the exposed concrete walls, the rooftop fire pits, the lobby that smelled like cedar and expensive candles. I paid most of the rent. I had hung the art, assembled the bed frame, fixed the bathroom shelf, unclogged the shower drain, stocked the kitchen, and convinced myself that labor was love, when really it had been maintenance on a fantasy. It had felt like building a home. Now it was just a location containing my things. I changed out of my proposal outfit into old jeans and a gray t-shirt. Work clothes. That was how I treated it. Not a breakup, not grief. A job. I started in the living room with my books. The ones Cole used to complain made the shelves look too academic. I boxed them without looking at the titles. My records went next, then the vintage turntable I had saved 6 months to buy before Cole decided it made the apartment feel curated. I wrapped it carefully in towels that belonged to me and set it in a crate. I moved like a surgeon, precise, efficient, emotionless because emotion would slow me down. In the bedroom, I took my clothes, my shoes, my winter coat from the back of the closet. The boots he once said made me look too practical, like practicality was a disease. I left the expensive silk scarf he bought me for my birthday, the one he chose because it matched his favorite jacket better than it matched me. I left everything that smelled too much like us. From my nightstand, I took my passport, my grandmother's earrings, my emergency cash, and the folder with my car title, insurance papers, and lease copies. I did not touch his things. Not a shirt, not a watch. Not the cologne bottles lined up like trophies on his dresser. I was not there to punish him by destroying anything. I was there to remove myself so completely that when he came home, the absence would have weight. The only hesitation came in the second bedroom, the office nook I had carved out beside stacked storage bins and Cole's unused gym equipment. Inside a locked firebox were the receipts for the ring, the printed reservation for a weekend cabin I had been planning after the proposal, and a list of wedding venues I had researched quietly, foolishly, tenderly. I did not open the box. I placed the whole thing into a crate. I would deal with that version of myself later. The physical work steadied me. Tape ripping, boxes closing, the dull thud of containers stacking by the door. I took my good kitchen knives, the cast iron skillet, the toolbox, the coffee maker I bought, the framed print from my first solo trip before Cole. I left the furniture. Let him keep the stage set. Let him sit in it and wonder why it suddenly looked so fake. 3 hours. That was all it took to reduce my life in that apartment to 8 boxes and 2 suitcases. The rooms looked wrong afterward, lopsided, stripped in odd places, like a hasty theft where the thief had only stolen herself. I did one final sweep through the bathroom. Razor, toothbrush, skincare, the perfume he claimed he loved. I left the matching towels. Then I sat at the kitchen island where I had eaten so many breakfasts alone, while Cole slept off nights he called networking. I pulled out my phone. His contact photo filled the screen, laughing, head tipped back, beautiful in the way dangerous things can be beautiful if you do not stand too close. I typed one sentence. Imagine thinking I'd stay. I sent it, watched it deliver. Then I blocked his number. I opened every social app. Block, block, block. It did not feel dramatic. It felt like closing doors in a burning building. I called a rideshare van. The driver asked no questions as we loaded my boxes in 10 silent minutes. My best friend David answered his door at 11:30 p.m., holding a baby monitor and wearing the exhausted face of a man with a newborn. He looked at me, then at the van, then stepped aside. "Guest room's clear," he said. "Baby just went down, so tread lightly." No questions. That was real friendship. The dam broke at 2 a.m. In the dark of David and Sarah's spare room, the black ocean finally rose. I cried into a borrowed pillow until my chest hurt, quietly enough not to wake their baby. I let it happen. I owed myself one night of devastation. By morning, Sarah placed coffee beside me and said, "He's an idiot, Sandra. A cruel, shallow idiot." David leaned against the doorway and added, "He showed you who he was in high definition. Believe him." I nodded. This time, I did. The silence became my sanctuary. In my new apartment, a small, sunlit one-bedroom with blank walls and the clean smell of fresh paint, I began the quiet work of rebuilding myself. Not for revenge, not to prove anything to Cole, not even to make him regret what he had done. I rebuilt because the woman who knelt on that restaurant floor had been dismantled in public, and someone had to gather the pieces before they hardened into something bitter. I went to the gym at 6 every morning, not because I wanted some dramatic transformation, but because weights made sense. Lift, hold, lower, repeat. Progress could be measured there. Nobody laughed at effort. Nobody mistook steadiness for weakness. Every rep felt like a vote for the version of me who had walked out instead of begging. I found a therapist named Dr. Vance, a calm, direct woman who did not let me romanticize my own suffering. In her office, I did not only talk about Cole. I talked about why I had confused being useful with being loved. Why I thought remembering someone's preferences, paying most of the rent, planning their future, and smoothing over their cruelty meant I had earned safety. Dr. Vance listened, then asked one question that stayed with me for days. "When did you decide love had to be proven by endurance?" I did not have an answer. Work helped too. I buried myself in structural reports, budgets, site timelines, clean math, and problems with actual solutions. Steel carried load or it did not. Concrete cured or it failed. Nobody in engineering got to call a collapsed beam misunderstood. I found comfort in that. I reconnected with friends from before Cole, the people he had dismissed as boring because they did not photograph every drink they ordered. We went to dive bars and talked about football, bad movies, woodworking, office politics, nothing glamorous. No one analyzed my tone. No one demanded sparkle from me. One Saturday morning, I bought a single comfortable armchair and placed it by the window. I sat there with coffee, listening to the city wake up, and felt something so unfamiliar it took me a moment to name it. Peace. On Cole's side of the silence, the war had begun. His first attempt came from an unknown number. "Sandra, it's Cole. We need to be adults about this. The landlord is threatening legal action over the lease. You're obligated for half the fee. Avoiding me is childish." I stared at the message and almost admired the audacity. The legal action was the lease break fee I had already paid. I opened my banking app, screenshotted the transaction, and sent it back with one line. Settled, April 12th, see attached. Then I blocked the number. His second attempt came late at night from another number. I answered without speaking. Sandra? His voice was thick, watery, carefully broken. It's me. I said nothing. I got your screenshot. I didn't see the email. Everything's been insane. A shaky breath. Lila, the woman I was seeing, she's nothing like you. She borrowed $500 for some investment thing and ghosted me. My friends are being weird. Amir said I might have gone too far at the restaurant. There it was. Not an apology. A weather report from the consequences of his own choices. I miss our routine, he continued. Coming home and you'd have dinner started, knowing things were handled. The bills, the apartment, it was stable. Stable. The word he had once treated like a disease was now being offered back to me like a compliment. Can we just talk? He asked. Coffee. No pressure. I think I made a terrible mistake. The old me would have heard pain. The new me heard a man who had returned a reliable product, found the replacement defective, and wanted to know if the warranty still worked. I moved my things and settled the lease, I said. There's nothing to discuss. Sandra, please. I ended the call and blocked the number. The rest came through other people. Ben, a mutual friend, told me Cole's new Sparkle Life had detonated publicly. Lila had not only ghosted him after borrowing money, she had been dating 3 men at once, and they had all discovered each other through a chain of Instagram stories. Cole's furious comments had been screenshotted, mocked, and passed around the same social circle where he had humiliated me. The narrative turned. People started remembering the proposal differently. Not as awkward, not as dramatic, cruel. That was the word Ben said people were using. I did not celebrate. I only sat in my armchair by the window, phone face down beside my coffee, and realized Cole was finally learning something I already knew. Silence does not chase. It lets people hear themselves. Cole's public unraveling reached me in fragments, never because I searched for it, but because people love delivering karma like it is breaking news. Ben told me first that Cole had stopped showing up to the rooftop crowd because Lila had made him look ridiculous online. Then Amir sent a short message that simply said, "For what it's worth, I'm sorry I didn't say anything that night." I did not reply right away, not because I hated him, but because silence had become the first place in my life where nobody could demand a performance from me. A month after the proposal, I was making pasta in my new kitchen, a simple aglio e olio with too much garlic because no one was there to complain about my breath. When the buzzer for the front door went off, I was not expecting anyone. For a second, I thought maybe David had stopped by. Then I pressed the intercom. Hello? Sandra, it's me. Let me in. Cole's voice was ragged, stripped of its usual polish. Not soft, not sorry. Frantic. I released the button without answering. A minute later, my phone rang from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The buzzer sounded again, longer this time. One continuous, angry drone. I stood there with the wooden spoon in my hand, the smell of garlic blooming in hot oil behind me, and realized I was not afraid of him. Not anymore. I turned off the stove and went downstairs, not to let him in, but to end it. The lobby had a security door with glass panels. Cole stood on the other side, and for a moment, I barely recognized him. His hair was messy, his eyes red-rimmed, his hoodie wrinkled like he had slept in it. He looked smaller without an audience, smaller without Jensen laughing beside him, smaller without a table full of people watching him perform cruelty like charm. When he saw me, he pressed both palms against the glass. "Open the door." "No," I said. "Say what you need to say." His face twisted. "Are you serious? You won't even let me in? No. You have to talk to me, Sandra. You don't get to just disappear and leave me with everything. I folded my arms. I left you with your apartment. You left me with the rent, the bills, the landlord, the embarrassment. His voice cracked on that last word, and not because he was ashamed of hurting me, because people had seen him fail. Lila cleaned out my Venmo. Jensen won't return my calls. Amir said I was cruel. Everyone thinks I'm the villain because you walked out like some tragic heroine. I watched him carefully. I proposed. You said no. That's what happened. His eyes flashed. You put me on the spot. You could have said no. You did it in public. So did you. That stopped him for half a second. The glass between us reflected both our faces, mine calm, his unraveling. You embarrassed me, he said, louder now. You made me look like some monster. No, Cole, I gave you a question. You gave everyone the answer. His mouth opened, then closed. I saw the victim act slipping, the practiced sadness failing under the pressure of my calm. He had come expecting tears, maybe anger, maybe enough emotion to climb inside and rearrange, but there was nothing for him to grab. Then his face changed. You were never enough anyway, he spat. You know that, right? You were safe, convenient, a placeholder, a comfortable couch I kept around until something better came along. There it was, the truth, finally unclothed. His voice rose, uglier with every word. You think because you paid bills and cooked dinner and acted like some perfect little future wife, that meant I owed you forever? You're boring, Sandra. Predictable. Cold. You'll end up alone because no one wants to marry a woman who feels like a retirement plan. I stood very still. A month earlier, those words would have destroyed me. That night at Celadon, they would have split me open. But now, hearing them through glass, all I felt was clarity. He had not become cruel after I left. He had simply lost the reason to hide it. I nodded once. Okay, I said. His face faltered. That's it? That's it. I turned toward the stairs. Sandra! He shouted, his voice cracking against the glass. Come back! Don't walk away from me! But I already had. The first time was at Celadon. This time was just confirmation. I climbed back to my apartment, washed my hands, turned the stove on again, and finished my pasta. The buzzer screamed once more, a short, furious burst, then fell silent. I plated my dinner, sat in the armchair by the window, and ate slowly while the city moved below me, indifferent and beautiful. For the first time in years, no one was waiting for me to prove my worth by staying where I was unwanted. Cole once thought stability was a cage. He was wrong. Stability was the door I closed behind me.